Hey, good morning and welcome to the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. It is really great to have you along, and I'm laughing because I'm feeling like I am really frazzled this morning. There was some things that were going on with with our wide orbit computer up in the studio this morning, and it gets incredibly stressful when we're having mechanical issues up there, computer issues. And so I'm giggling like an idiot because I'm just relieved to be to get off the air. And here we are again. Anyway, it's always great to have you along. I appreciate it. It feels that way. Denise is saying it's such a Monday. Yeah, yeah. That's very much how it's feeling for me, Denise. It's been that way all day. And I'm hoping it's going to get better. This is the turnaround point, right? Okay, I've got a few stories at least to share with you this morning. Um, I wanted to share a portion of Elon Musk's comments at Madison Square Garden last night. Excuse me. I'll just let the video roll and it will explain itself.
But we set up Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion out of the Biden-Harris budget.
You're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether
I'm going to stop that for just a moment because this point that he's making is why I'm sharing the video. I think this is incredibly important that all of us understand this. And I'll let him make it because he does so very well.
So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
I hope there is
We're
a government.
Get the government off your back and out of your pocketbook.
Being well received by everybody. Look at that crowd. That is unbelievable.
It's not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Elon Musk had a pretty good speech.
Now,
and they're chanting. We're going to leave it there. But that's been what happened and what Elon Musk was talking about. All of this government spending, it's all inflation, and that's what's causing inflation. It's really wild. Denise, she said, my listening enjoyment today will be Rogan and Madison Square Garden. Now, I've not watched Madison Square Garden yet, but that Joe Rogan Experience podcast was just absolutely incredible. I watched all of it yesterday, and it was, again, it's completely unedited. It is, the two of them interacting. And it's one of the reasons why I believe Kamala Harris will never do it. Do you believe that Kamala Harris will ever sit down with Joe Rogan and do that type of podcast? I don't believe she can. I don't believe she's capable of doing it. Seriously. Speaking of Kamala Harris, there was a moment, you may have seen this over the weekend, where Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer were caught on a hot mic. And what's being said, and it's difficult to hear, we need to move ground among men, and then realizes, oh man, the microphones are on. So of course, let's drop some vulgarity here.
Yeah. Oh, we have microphones and listening to everything. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. So, well,
You'll
now
bleep
you tell
my
us.
F words.
We just told all the family secrets. Shit.
Wow. Not realizing she's on a mic. Seriously? How could you not treat every moment as if somebody is nearby with a microphone? I mean, having a conversation like that out in public? What? I mean, it just defies common sense. And you may have seen that over the weekend. Okay, we talked about this, and with the it's incredible to see Axios pick this story up. This is what I was talking about this morning on the Greg Belfrage show. The big media era is over. And why? Why is that? Scores of Americans are turning into Joe Rogan's podcasts. To suburban women following Instagram influencers. And they're saying, even Axios is saying, the future of news and information is upon us. Welcome to the shards of glass election and the news era. But this is exactly what I was saying. Axios, in their typically, I think, confusing kind of style, lays that story out. But it's exactly what we were talking about this morning. Those of you who are watching this know what I'm talking about, right? The era of podcasts and what's going video podcasts. And that, how many of you watched Trump with Joe Rogan? I'd be curious to know, did you watch it? I was fascinated by it. Again, Katie and I watched the entire thing yesterday, all 3 hours. And we tweaked it up the speed a little bit so that it went by a little bit more quickly. But we watched the entire thing. And it was pretty incredible. Now, Steve said, I've been relying on podcasts. I'm like on YouTube and Rumble for several years. And I think that's where things are going. Think about who is watching, and I talked about this a little bit this morning on the air. Who is it that's watching ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN? Who is it that's watching them? Primarily. It's generally they're older folks. They're older folks like me. Now, I'm a guy who's 61 years old. At the age of 61, I am already never listening to the aforementioned. I just don't. I do not watch television news at all. I don't find television news, to me, I don't find it helpful. I don't find it meaningful. And I thought, you know what? I'm just better off without TV news. So I stopped watching it. And I think as generally what you see are the folks who are watching it, they're older. They're folks, maybe they're retired or, so on. They tend to be older. Those are the folks that are watching. Well, sadly, as we die off, then what happens as in Americans, younger Americans who are used to, like Steve, talking about listening to podcasts and been doing so for a number of years now. As those folks then grow older, what? They're going to suddenly stop listening to podcasts? Is it then mandatory at some age that you begin watching, the legacy media? I don't think so. Folks who have been podcasting when they're younger, I think will continue podcasting and so on until the next, whatever the new, media that comes into be. But I think it's on its way out. Now, we've seen that in terms of the numbers of them millions of people that are tuning in. You see those numbers dwindling, growing less and less. And I think that's going to continue. And this is what I was talking about this morning. The Donald Trump podcast with Joe Rogan, it was just absolutely phenomenal. So it's, and David's saying, I do not watch the network news. He's 74 years old. Steve's listing his favorite podcasts here. He's got a number of them that he listens to. And you've been listening for a long time, I know, Steve. I know you've been because you have commented on podcasts to me previously. I think there are a lot of great ones that are out there. Denise is saying, I have kids between 17 and 34. They don't even have cable. They stream everything or watch podcasts. See? So what's going to happen to ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN when your kids, are grow older? They're not going to suddenly stop watching podcasts or consuming media in a different way, unless there's some new technology that we've not seen yet. Definitely very possible, but I just think the days of network television are over. And these podcasts, Joe Rogan, great example. This interview that he did with Donald Trump, I was fascinated. The whole 3 hours. I mean, it didn't feel like 3 hours. Sat there and watched that, and the time went by incredibly quickly. What's Steve saying here? At some point, the state media will run out of cash, and then there will be a government bailout. The government bailout of the legacy media, yeah. Because it's where they peddle all of their nonsense. Where do you go if you go to CBS, you go to ABC, CNN? It's where you go. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. There was one other story that I saw this morning, and I'm going to share with you as well. And it's talking about the anxiety of voters as the election. It's called election stress disorder. And this is barely a week to go. Americans are freaking out, baby. And so let's see what they get into. This is a mental health treatment system. Provided an analysis of 2,000 Americans, found that 22% of those surveyed said the coverage of the election was having a deleterious impact on their mental health. 42% said they're worried that their guy would not win come election day. Well, I worry about that too, but it's not, I don't lose sleep. I don't stress about it. But these people are 54% were worried about what would happen after the election. 57% feel that the election messaging has played a role in making them stress out. That's what drives. Seriously, it's an election, and what they're saying, the stressing you out. Survey showed that those who fall within the Gen Z and millennial generations report electoral stress. Is that what we're calling it? Electoral stress? At 64% among Gen Z, 54% among millennials. This is like way too much. This is a story from the post-millennial. And that is just like, wow, crazy. I just can't imagine stressing out about this thing. I mean, are these things important? Absolutely. I mean, I just think it's critically important. Do I stress over it? Not really. I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. And that's the thing about stress. I think, and I saw this years ago, the number of things that we wind up stressing about that never happen. It's tremendous. You wind up being stressed over things that never happen more than you do generally things that have actually happened. That's how bad it gets. So the anxiety, I think, especially among younger Americans, that's what concerns me. The anxiety that they're feeling. And I mean, we have got a generation of, folks that are really highly stressed over a number of things. And that's just not healthy. I find that troubling. That's concerning to me. But even when I was even when I was young, and I'm trying to think back through the years and the fog, I remember being angry about a number of different things. I was too angry too often, frankly, in my lifetime. I remember being angry about a lot of things, but not, you know, there has been stress a number of times. But as I've gotten older, the stress is much less. I find that's within my control as to whether or not I'm going to feel stress over all these, you know, issues and situations, whether it's happening to the country, whether it's happening in my own life. One thing I can't control is how much I stress about it. And I really have just made a decision I'm not going to. I'm going to impact what I can. I'm going to change what I can, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time sweating it and worrying about it. And it's unfortunate. I wonder what causes so many Americans to feel that way. Does their politics affect that? I mean, are you more inclined if you're really stressful and you're anxious? Are you more inclined to lean one way or the other? I don't know. I'm asking legitimately. Because I personally I don't feel that way. So it's pretty incredible. Sean's got a comment. That vicious machine Trump talked about wants every generation stressed out and emotionally agitated. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. David is saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Congress impeaches Trump before January if he wins. And Angie, this is interesting. Tucker Carlson is somebody I greatly admire. Tucker had Mark Halperin on, who predicted a psychological catastrophe. I saw this last week. In fact, I think I mentioned this to you last week, that if Trump is elected, he sounded crazy, but he's probably right. I think he may be as well, because he certainly knows people on the left and how they think and how they feel and how they're viewing things. Edgy made another comment here. People believe the world revolves around them and they can't handle it when reality bites and they realize, yeah, that's just not the case. It's kind of a great comment. David saying fear is a great motivator. The left uses it continually. Yeah, and fear, to me, see, I think there's a limited amount of time that you can endure that you can hear, global warming, that you can hear all of these various things. You hear it. That even the comments that they were making about Donald Trump last week, and it's just, I mean, how can you listen to that and hear it seriously? I mean, take it seriously. You just can't. And I think unless you're really kind of unbalanced, that you hear that, at some point, don't you go, man, these folks have been saying this for a long time. Because believe me, after Donald Trump, it's going to be somebody else. It'll be another Republican. So should Donald Trump win, he can't run again for president. He's done. And God bless him. You'd think he would want to retire. But I don't think this will ever stop. This kind of trying to fear, and stress. You see the same thing going on with J.D. Vance, who's just been absolutely demonized in the things that he said, not only by Democrats, but by the legacy media. And J.D. Vance, who's on these Sunday morning news shows, God love him. I can't imagine doing that. I don't know that I have the strength to do that, to go on those Sunday morning shows like he does and just keep his good humor and point and just continually point out, the obvious. Just incredible. But you look at the way the media and the left just demonize their opponents. I think that's got a limited shelf life, doesn't it? I've got to believe that it does. It's got a limited shelf life, that you can only say that so much and so often before people start to go, wow, man, this is sickening. I mean, this is really tiresome. I just get worn out feeling that kind of stuff. So I can't believe that it's going to last. But I hate to look at everything through my own prism, right? Because to me, it bounces right off me. I hear that. It's just like, give me a break. It's laughable. So I don't take it very seriously. It just bounces right off of me as I hear all of that stuff. Meant to be insulting. I sleep just fine at night. Doesn't bother me. I don't let it get to me or, eat at me. And you would think that folks would have to get to a point where you've been crying wolf so often. At what point do you just, say, well, this is total BS. I mean, this is absolute nonsense. And we'll see. Because I just don't think you can sustain that level of fear all the time. And that's all the Democrats have right now. Seems like, is to try to get people fearful and, scared. And some are, again, it's working for some. You see the crowds that Kamala Harris has and what she's saying to them. And I just thought, man, there's no way that I could ever sit through that. I just couldn't. I'd have to get up and leave. I just can't stand it. The whole atmosphere, then the environment is just toxic. I think to me, at least, that's how I feel. So you wind up wondering at what point other Americans are going to start feeling the same way, because I think fear has got a shelf life, and man, the Democrats have just beaten that absolutely into the ground. All right, my friends, I want to thank you so much for being here for the 4th hour today. If you would hit the like button before you leave, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow. Thanks so much you're kind of my crisis squad, getting me through. Oh man, the last hour of the program this morning, and we were having issues that I thought were based in our computer, because every now and then the timing of our machines gets off, our computer timing gets off, and we were having issues with Fox News. So while I'm on the air, I'm rebooting the computer while I'm trying to talk, and I'm doing this in the last hour of the program. And then I have our traffic department approaching me about getting commercials on the air, and that the final segment then of the 8 o'clock hour. They got to air before 9. Can we get them on? And I'm like, I got to restart the computer. I just was melting down. And then I restart the computer, and we're having some of the same issues. And it's primarily with Fox News Radio. Fox News has got something going on this morning. I'm going to have to look into that and go see what's happening, because their timing is off. They were cutting out. And I don't know what's causing the issues, but it's like, oh, there's always something on your plate at work, isn't there? Anyway, I want to thank you so much for letting me join you. I hope you'll be back again tomorrow. So have a great Monday, and we'll see you again soon. You take care.